Welcome back to Silent Sales Machine Radio. We are your co-hosts. I'm Brian.
And I'm Robin Joy.
And this is Coach's Corner.
Hey, Brian, we talk about testing all the time.
Mhm.
It's a big thing we talk about.
Yep.
We think it's very important. We do test in order to get some benefits, and they're not all just to find something you can replenish, right?
Correct.
I think there are even some more important benefits to testing. Let's talk about some of those. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree.
Okay.
So some of the original benefits that we've been talking about are you get experience going through the cycles. So you get to source, you get to shop, prep, ship, send your item in, obviously ship. Once you become available, price it, sell it, collect your money, go through the process again. So the cycles, right? The more things that you're testing, the more times you get to go through the cycle.
Right. And you get to watch what happens with that keeper graph and with the pricing and all of that while you're testing. You get a lot of real life information and proof of what can actually happen for you. Right.
Yep.
Okay. What else?
You're also turning your money. Okay. If you've got capital that's sitting around, you're trying to get started in this business, you want to be able to turn your money and make some margin, some profit dollars on it. So testing, most of the time you're going to make money even on your tests, even if it doesn't qualify as a replenishable for you, you get to make some money, turn your money. So that's great.
Sure. So it might be not quite enough money to be worth replenishing, but you get to keep the little bit of money that you did make and turn that over and over and over. Right. So I like that. It also helps you build trust with Amazon.
Yes.
And what does that do for me when I build trust with Amazon by showing consistent sales and activity?
Well, there's a seller account metrics score that we don't have insight into it. It's like this black box algorithm, but we know one of the things we do know is that with consistent sales activity, Amazon's going to loosen the restrictions and you'll get ungated in categories and brands that you were not approved to sell in the early days.
Eventually that will happen automatically and you won't have to do anything to make that happen. Great.
Right.
So recently I was working with a client and I found another benefit that I hadn't mentioned before, but it makes sense. I found another benefit of the testing itself, even if I didn't make any money. They had an account health issue and we were looking at what makes up that account health score. So we found in this article, and we'll link the article in the show notes, the article from Amazon that says, I'll just quote part of it, to ensure your AHR or your account health rating is evaluated in context of the size of your business. You'll also gain 4 points for every 200 successful orders you fulfilled over the last 180 days. Okay. Still is not black and white. Of course, nothing with Amazon is. That's okay. It does tell me that if I fill more orders or sell more items, that is going to help me, how'd you put it, drown out some account health issues if it is something that responds to that. So that's even another reason that it's good to test, even if you didn't make any money. And I've talked to people in rooms full of people before that I've asked them, if I said you can have a profitable business, but you will not make a penny for the first 6 months, would you still do it? Every one of them said, absolutely, 6 months is nothing. I can do this for 6 months. Right?
Agreed.
That's not the case. You're going to, as we talked about before, you're going to make money as you test. Not every single ASIN will make money, but overall, you will make money if you consistently test.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
So what do you think of that?
I like it. I think it's a great point. So anytime your account health gets to under 200, then you've got a real concern with Amazon keeping your account clean so that you don't get suspended. And so every order that you're fulfilling, you're getting 4 points, every successful order. So if you were doing 5 tests a week and sending in 4 units for each test, that's 20 units a week that you're fulfilling over the course of a month. That is 160 units times 4 points. I mean, are
you doing math on the
I know.
I mean, easy with that.
I should not be doing math.
The point is, over 180 days, 200 successful orders will help to alleviate any health issues that you have. That's the way we want to say that.
Okay, great.
Again, it's not black and white, but it is a reason. It is something that you want to do to help your account health stay good.
We are doing this workshop, A Path to 100 ASINs, the 2 days before the Proven Conference this year. And we like to say, use a 3-step check.
And a 4-week test.
To build a 5-figure business.
In 6 months or less, if you're consistent. right?
So what is the significance of 100 ASINs, 5 figures, 6 months?
All right. Well,
We
let's
thought
talk
we'd
about
dive into that and explore why those things, why do we reference those numbers, those data points as being significant?
Okay.
So let's talk about $10,000 a month in sales, or
That's
five figures a month.
figures,
It's a
right?
5 figure a month business, right?
Mhm.
Why is this significant?
Well, $10,000 a month is $120,000 a year in sales. That's not nothing. That's a 6-figure annual sales business. And if you double that, that's $250,000.
Yeah.
I mean, just a little bit more than double.
Yeah. Yeah. It's basically $250,000 business. If you double it,
Nothing.
it is
It is
not.
not
Well,
nothing.
$120,000 a year is not nothing. I mean,
No.
a 6-figure year business, let's just do the math on this real quick. You're
That's
making
significant.
it demonstrates a level of competency,
Yes.
okay, to yourself and to Amazon, like we were talking about before.
Obviously, to Amazon as
Yeah.
well.
And it starts to demonstrate a level of profitability. Okay. If you were doing 20% margins, and we hear people on the podcast, they're averaging anywhere between 15 and 20% margins. Okay. Your mileage may vary, especially in the early days. But if you're at that,
As you outsource, you may take a little less because you don't have to touch it.
20 points of margin on $120,000 a year is like $24,000 a year in profit.
Oh.
That's not
nothing,
right?
Not at all.
That's like $2,000 a month.
Yeah, that's a car.
That's, well, before recent inflation, that could be house payment money. It's certainly a car payment money, right?
That's true. A couple of car payments.
Couple of
for
car
sure,
payment money, right? So to get to 120K a year in sales at 20% margins, yes, this is great. This is what we love. You are demonstrating to yourself, to Amazon, this is doable.
I think that's very important. I'm glad you said that, because for me, it was very important to, once I believed it, I demonstrated to myself I can do this, then I was able to move forward much easier. That it took a lot of the fear and uncertainty and doubt out of it. And I was able to confidently move forward. I had to convince myself.
Yeah.
Right. And most people do. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, yeah. That's usually step one. Wait, okay, I want to do this. Wait, I can't do this. Okay, I'm doing this.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
But I also like to say that getting to $10,000 a month in sales, or 5 figures a month, is essentially base camp 1.
Right.
Okay. If we were going hiking, K2 or a mountain that has base camps on it.
Yeah.
Base
like
camp.
you do.
Yeah.
Obviously, we are doing that all the time.
You're typically not doing your you're not doing when you get to the top of the mountain, that push, because it's called summiting. You're not going to attempt to summit from the base of the mountain.
Right.
You're going to attempt to summit from base camp 1 or base camp 2, depending on how big the mountain is.
So why do we have the base camp 1? Why wouldn't we just climb until we get to the top?
Well, because it's maybe not doable. Right. We want to get to base camp 1. We need to make sure that, our shoes aren't giving us blisters, that our goggles are right,
make sure our equipment's working right.
Everything is working right. We're outfitted to take on the next stage.
Right.
And not only are we outfitted, but now we've got the confidence.
We're acclimating ourselves to the altitude and the weather conditions, and
it gets you this level of experience. That makes summiting easier. Okay. In the Amazon business, it's your next venture. Easier.
And it gives you a little bit of a breather to take the next step
your breath.
forward.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So it also makes your next steps in the Amazon business easier. If you want to jump into Amazon and do private label from 0 to private label, that can be an extremely challenging.
A lot of challenges with that.
Right. It can be challenging to go 0 to wholesale too. It can be done. It's much easier to go 0 to 5 figures in replens.
Build that foundation at that
get
low
the foundation
risk,
built.
that quick turn.
Once you understand the beast and the process, and you've got some relationship established.
Testing what you can do and what you can't do, what your abilities are.
Then wholesale, then private label, then branded bundles, then whatever.
It's a jumping off point.
Easier to achieve. Yeah.
Yes. Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
So why do we say then 6 months or less? What's significant about that?
Well, 6 months, as you're building this foundation and you're putting yourself in the position to get outsourced or add some other things to your company, you're going to have some intense focused effort. That's what Jim has called it. Intense focused effort. During that time, it really is an intense focused effort to get that done within 6 months. but we want you to get it done within 6 months because it's really hard to carry on that much intensity, that much focus, because this is not the only thing going on in your life for more than 6 months.
Well, I've talked about how if you want to replace the income, the income from your job, that you're making your Amazon business priority 1 or 1A with the highest priority,
Sure.
whatever you've got going on, and from an income producing standpoint. In order to do that, that means you're working usually your day job full time or more, and your Amazon business 10, 15, 20 hours a week. This is no small feat.
Right. It takes a lot of effort a lot of motivation.
It takes a lot out of you too. And so what we've seen is if people don't start making some adjustments at about that 6-month mark, that you can be on this trajectory up, and then you can just as easily go back down because you get burned out. Right? You're not as motivated. We also talked about the airplane taxiing for takeoff. When it's going down the runway, you don't want to get to the end of the runway and find that you're out of fuel and you can't get lift off. Just like in the business, you don't want to get to the end of the runway and realize you're out of motivation, you're out of capital, you're out of time, and you haven't achieved lift off yet.
Turn around and start over.
Yeah.
And you've already burned all that fuel.
Right. So
you got to go find some more.
Is about the time where that's about the time people are like, okay, I need to have an end.
I'm bursting at the seams here.
I need to have an end to this.
Yeah.
Okay. I can do this for a little bit. And 6 months is not when everything gets all of a sudden transitioned right at 6 months.
No.
When we begin to transition.
Begin to lay things off, outsource some things.
Get some time back.
Add some more interest to it, ideas.
What happens, Jim says, in order to really do this business, you got to have some margin in your life.
Yes.
Okay. But you're going to fill up that margin with Amazon.
Yes.
Okay.
Then during that intense focus,
and then you have no margin in your life while you're doing this.
Yes.
Okay. And then you start to get some margin back when you start to outsource.
Right. You get better at it.
Yes.
You get more efficient.
You're efficient.
You get faster. You get people to help you, whatever the case may be. It gets easier. It's not quite as hard to get through a day. The hours that you have.
Yes. And this is really a great point in time where you've got proof. Okay, the concept works, or proof of concept that this works, right? You've got profits coming in, like we talked about before. If you're doing 20 points on 120K a year, you've got house payment money,
right?
And you've got confidence in your own ability to find test-worthy ASINs, so that you can start to train someone else how to do that and get that time back in your life, get that margin back.
Agreed. So 6 months is kind of where we see that breaking point in most people. Now you may be different, and you're gonna say you're whatever is right for you. A lot of people get it done before that, or get to this point, to the $10,000 a month of sales at this point. And we're going to talk about it in a minute, but 100 ASINs that we talk about is more than $10,000 to $15,000 a month in sales. So by the time you get there, you will see that. But we like to see you try to get that intense focused effort in and down pat so that we can start making adjustments.
Well, let's jump right into why the 100 ASINs is significant.
Okay, so that is a number that we talk about all the time. Why do we say that number?
Well, we talk about, build your book of business to 100 ASINs. Okay, you don't need 100 ASINs for a 5-figure business. If you I'm not going to do the math on camera.
No, we get in trouble every time
from experience. You don't need 100 ASINs to have a 5-figure business.
Right.
Okay, but you do typically need 100 ASINs to have a consistent 5-figure business. Why is this?
Well, here's the thing. I'm not probably going to have 100 ASINs active at a time in a $10,000 a month business, right? If I do, my business is going to be much bigger than that. So that's great. Nothing wrong with that. But this goal is a $10,000 a month in sales regularly. So if I have 100 ASINs and I only need, maybe I need 60 to make that $10,000. It depends on your average sales price and different things. But maybe I need 60 to actually come up with the $10,000 a month in sales.
Right. Well,
so you have some typicals for how you shop for that. Tell me about that.
We'll get back to the show in just a moment, but I have to tell you about a coaching program that's been around for about 19 years. It's coached almost 10,000 e-commerce business building warriors. It's got a team of about 60 coaches who are not only great teachers with tremendous hearts who love their students, but they're all succeeding at the business strategies that you hear taught on this show. If you haven't figured it out yet, I'm talking about our coaching program. There's a link at silentjimdotcom. Get over there, get on our schedule, have a free consultation, zero pressure. We're going to help you build your business on that call. Sign up at silentjim.com, free consultation. See if our coaching program is a good fit for you, where you get to not only work one-on-one with one of our tremendous coaches, not only do you get that, you also get a reactive coach that you can contact at any point in time. That's a separate coach. You get all the training and content that we provide around here at no cost now and into the future. Tremendous list of benefits. I'm not going to go into all of them right now. silentjim.com. Click on the coaching link, sign up for a consultation. Hey, let's get back to the program.
So if I have 100 ASINs and I only need, maybe I need 60 to make that $10,000. It depends on your average sales price and different things. But maybe I need 60 to actually come up with the $10,000 a month in sales.
Right. Well,
So you have some typicals for how you shop for that. Tell me about that.
so if I only had 30 ASINs on my list and I was able to go shopping for all of them and get everything that I wanted, I can probably have a 5-figure business. But what happens when you go shopping?
Oh, things are out of stock.
Yeah, things are out of
I
stock.
can't get everything I want.
You can't get as much as you
Expiration
want.
dates are bad.
Dates are bad. Your order gets canceled. There are any number of reasons that if you only had 30 on your list, that it's going to be hard to maintain that 5 figures. If everything lines up perfectly and you were able to go shopping for everything that you needed for the entire month, then yes, you can probably make that happen.
Right. But that's not reality.
The reality is that your products are going to come and go. You're not going to be able to get as much as you thought or as much as you wanted.
Right.
And so we like to have 100 because we're usually only shopping for a third to a half of them maximum at any given time.
And this is what we do with our shoppers. When we have our shoppers go out, we give them more than we want them to buy. And we're working on spending goals. Right.
Yes,
so we say, you have this much money we need you to spend. Here are the ASINs in order that we want you to buy for. And how many of each. Keep going down the list until you run out of money. Because some of those you're not going to get any of. Some of them you need 8, but you're only going to get 2. You're going to run into these things. So that's why we have more ASINs on that list than we need to shop for every week.
Right. So you're going to have a foundation of ASINs, which means you're not going to run out when you're going shopping to maintain that 5 figures. Now,
or if an order gets canceled, you have someplace to go from there.
All the while you are continuing to add, you're continuing to do your 5 tests a week and you're adding items to your replens list as you're going. So that 100 turns into 120, turns into 180,
and that $10,000 a month turns into 15,000, 20,000,
exactly,
and 30,000.
Yeah.
Fairly quickly after that $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
That is a number that we see. Once you get there, you really have built enough experience and enough understanding of what you're doing and enough efficiencies really to be able to pretty much decide how much you'd like to have and make that happen.
Yep.
You'll be able to see that at around $10,000 a month in sales. Now, the other thing it does, besides not being able to maybe get everything that you wanted to shop for, it helps you have some place to go with the fluidity of how well each ASIN is doing over time, right? So it helps you look and say, well, this one has risen to the top. I'd like to shop for that one this week, where it wasn't really a good ASIN for the last few weeks. Or this one's kind of fallen down, must be in a sale or something that a lot of people came on and the price is low a little bit right now. Let's not shop for that one for a couple of weeks and put some other ones in that. So if you have more than you need, it helps with that fluidity that you'll have and keep that predictability that you're looking for. Right.
The most important thing that I like about 100 ASINs is that it's proof that this whole thing is just a numbers game. If you can find one, you can find 10. Actually, find 1, find 5.
Right.
Okay.
Then find 5 more.
Then find 5, and then find 5. And eventually you will have found 100. And then eventually you have found 1,000. And then maybe someday you can have 6,000 like Kang Dang on the podcast. Which, right?
Yeah.
I hope that blew a lot of people's minds when he dropped that number on there, because it reminded me of when I was sitting front row for Jimmy Smith in 2019 at the Proven Conference, and somebody asked him how many ASINs did he have, and he said 800, And I almost just quit and walked out right then because I was like, 800.
Sounds like an awful lot of work, right?
Yeah, at the time, I think we had like 50 ASINs. And so
Mhm.
800 was like,
That was before it was me, man. It was my fault.
yeah.
It wasn't a we then. It was just you.
And I remember coming home and telling Robin, like, yeah, Jimmy's got 800, but yeah, we're probably just, let's just do like 100. I can't imagine ever having 800. And, we've got several thousand today. King's got 6,000 ASINs. Okay, so if you've got 6,000 ASINs, at any point in time that you want, you can analyze that list and find profitable inventory to send in. And it's inventory that you've already tested. So the brand is correct, unless it theoretically, unless the image, unless the thing got changed. But you've tested it. You've analyzed the ASIN already. You've looked at the Keep a chart.
You've built in systems to keep checking on those things and know what's going on right now.
So you've got a level of trust
Right.
in that ASIN.
Right.
I've sold it before. I can sell it again. And all I need to do is filter my list for what's profitable at this moment in time.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up about the 800 ASINs that you heard Jimmy say. And then I remember going to our coach and saying, that I don't think that's that many. And she pretty much said, don't whine to me because you have a $12,000 a month business, right?
Yes.
So a lot of people would like to have that. So we learned something there. But what we found was we kept building, and then we got to 200, and then we got to 500, and we got to 800 and 1,000, and then a couple of thousand. And what we found was the ability to do that comes with the doing of that. So we didn't have to understand how you could manage that when we were doing 50, 100 ASINs. We did understand it by the time we were doing 800 ASINs. We understood because that experience helped us manage that.
Well, we were also in that spot where it's like, I can remember talking to my coach saying, okay, every waking hour is either day job or this business.
And it pretty much was for you.
Yeah, it was for me. How are we going to scale this? And you know what? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes.
And that is exactly the time that we started outsourcing.
Yes.
Right?
An opportunity came to us that we weren't looking for. And it was something that was very comfortable for us to do, that we had no idea that would come to us. And those things start happening as you get to the point where you need them to happen. So don't worry about what the future has.
Yeah. Don't solve that problem right now. Solve the problem when it needs to be solved.
Because the best way to get your first 100 ASINs, 5 tests this
5
week,
tests a week.
5 tests next week, 5 tests the next week. Within 6 months, that's going to turn into 100 replenishable ASINs.
Right. So when it comes to thinking about that intense, focused effort time, don't feel like you need to go get 100 ASINs in the first 2 weeks. That's really not the way it works. It can work that way after you've got some experience. But for now, we want to have a measured approach to this.
Yes. We want to make
somewhat
small, we're going to make our mistakes on small quantities in small items so that they don't hurt so bad, because we don't have a balance yet until we build that foundation to fall back on if something goes wrong with one of them.
And you're not about small items, you're about small quantities.
Yes, small quantities.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Right. So it's can be challenging enough when you're just getting started to do 5 tests a week. So once you find that rhythm, 5 tests a week, all it takes is 6 months, and then you will have your 100 ASINs. That's what it's all about.
Find that consistency. That's the important part.
Yep. Okay. So
all right,
100 ASINs.
Oh, yes.
6 months, 5 figures. We're covering all this in a workshop.
Yes, we are.
2 days before the Proven Conference.
Yes, May 21st and 22nd.
May 21st, 22nd. We'd love to see you there. This is a very intimate setting. We're talking about 30 people or so, much less compared to the Proven Conference.
Yes.
A lot of individual attention, group, roll up your sleeves, ask some questions, get some good.
Do this together.
Accelerated learning happening. This is going to be amazing. We had a great time with this the first time. It's going to be better the second time.
We're going to make a plan for you.
Yes.
For your next 6 months to push forward and get this foundation taken care of.
Right.
So that you can move on from
build that book of business.
Build a book of business.
Yeah.
So that you have something to work with.
Right. Okay.
All right.
So I'm going to wrap this thing up with a quote.
No kidding.
I mean, I'm not going to wrap it up here. I'm going to drop the quote and then we'll talk about it.
Okay. We'll talk about it a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
What's the quote, Brian?
Quote this week comes to us from Rikki Rogers, who's an author, and she says, "Strength doesn't come from what you can do. It comes from overcoming the things you once thought that you couldn't."
Oh, yeah. That just reinforces what we just said.
Yeah.
We didn't think we could do
Have
800
800.
ASINs. Now we have way more than
I didn't
that.
think I could have 100 at one point.
So the accomplishment was overcoming that. I don't think I can do it.
The strength comes in getting that done when you once thought it was impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. Many things are like that.
Many things are like that. Think of the 4-minute mile.
Oh, yeah.
The 4-minute mile was something that couldn't happen.
Until
Until it
somebody
did.
did. And now everybody
And
can.
now everybody can do that.
You know, like you do.
Yeah.
Okay, not everybody.
Now
but
it's like
seems
the
normal.
standard. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting how once it's been done.
Right. So 6,000's been dropped. Go get 6,000. Yeah.
But don't focus on 6,000.
No,
Test
focus on
5.
Five.
Test 5 this week.
5. All right.
When I am looking to build a book of business and I'm struggling because one of my ASINs didn't work out well, what do I do, Brian?
Find some more ASINs.
Find some more ASINs.
Go find some
Test
ASINs
more.
to test.
Test more.
All right, let's go get
All right, let's go get some more ASINs.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, before I let you go for the day, we've got a segment with my good friend Jeff Schick of jeffschick.com. If you've been listening, you may have noticed over the past several weeks, once a week or so, we bring Jeff in. He's our resident expert when it comes to Amazon policy, Amazon legal issues. You can put him on retainer for just a few dollars a day, and he tackles all those challenges with you if you need a lawyer. So welcome back, Jeff. What do you got for us this week?
Well, I have an interesting one, and this is the rise of Amazon sellers reporting other sellers. And so that's, it sounds probably strange, but we've seen an increase in sellers who say, seller X over here is doing something that I think is against Amazon policy, and I want to turn them in for it. So I'm not talking about IP complaints per se. That's brand registry. That's a whole nother topic for another day. But I'm talking more about the sellers who say like, oh, this seller is doing something wrong, whether they're packaging products wrong, manipulating listings, doing something that as a seller, I perceive this as being against Amazon policy. I may or may not be right, but I think I am. And so what do I do about it? And so an interesting trend that we're working on is we have several cases of sellers who took the law into their own hands and started reporting other sellers. And there's nothing inherently wrong on Amazon with reporting another seller if you're doing it correctly. So just like the law, like the police they don't mind if you report somebody saying, hey, they're driving 45 miles an hour and this is a 30-mile-an-hour zone. And I just passed one of those speed signs that says 45. So I know they're going 45. That's a pretty clear-cut case, and the police aren't going to hold that against you. What they are going to hold against you, is going with the speeding example, is if you say this seller's going 100 miles an hour, and I know they're going 100 miles an hour because I could just feel it. And I don't know, so they must be, and the speed limit there, I bet you the speed limit is 20. I don't know what it is either. I'm not going to do the research to figure out what it was, but I know they're speeding. And then you just report it that way. Because, again, filing a false police report with police can be a problem. So now let's take this back to Amazon. Let's say you think that another seller is breaking policy because they're selling, you're both selling Tide laundry detergent. I don't know why I'm always talking about laundry. I guess I'm going to do so much of it.
It's time to do some laundry, man.
I don't know. Maybe because my office is above the laundry room. I'm not sure. So it's, but yeah. So like, we're both selling Replen's Tide laundry detergent, and this other seller, I just know that they're selling a 20-ounce version on a 32-ounce listing. Sounds innocent enough, you would report it, right? There's nothing wrong if you know for a fact you've done a test buy and they sent you a 20-ounce bottle, that if you are on a 32-ounce listing, there's nothing wrong with reporting them for that. Where Amazon has a problem is if you report them for selling a 20-ounce bottle, but they're really selling a 32-ounce bottle on a 32-ounce listing. And so where we're starting to see this issue is sellers are reporting other sellers for perceived policy violations. So that could be, I think they're manipulating reviews, or I think they're selling the wrong product on this listing, or I think they're doing some horrible thing that's against terms of service without going and verifying what terms of service is.
Right.
And I'm reporting them for it and expecting Amazon to take action. And believe it or not, if you report somebody for something that's wrong, they're not going to just take your report and say, oh, thank you so much, we appreciate it. They're going to say, first thing they're going to look at is, one, is this report valid? And if the report's valid, they'll take their own action. But if the report's not valid, because they're going to verify the correctness of it, accuracy, then they're going to look and say, is the seller making this report in an attempt to game the system?
Right.
And that's where it becomes a problem, because
it can
if
come
they-
back to bite you if you play Karen on Amazon, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Karen on Amazon will not be selling on Amazon very long. So she would, asking to see the manager, she would be seeing the door. So what we're seeing is sellers are starting to be suspended for this behavior, because Amazon's saying, wait, you're filing these reports to hurt another seller, not because you're trying to help us police and make this a better marketplace. You're doing this out of bad intent. Even though most of the sellers that we're working with that have had this issue come up, they're not trying to be bad. They're trying to make the place a better market, but they're not verifying policy first. And so they're making up rules in their minds because they think that this should be the rule, and it's not the rule. And then they report somebody for breaking the rule who didn't break any rules. And then Amazon's taking action against them for making
We should call this the mind your own business tip from Jeff Schick, man.
It really is.
There's always value in helping point out the truly bad actors. But if you just someone rubs you the wrong way and you'd like to get rid of them because they're sharing some ASINs with you, and you make up some stuff, or you guess and try to get them in trouble, it could come back on you worse than it ever goes down on them. That's a great, and that's the way the world should be, man. I kind of like this one today.
People need to stay in their own lane and focus on their success. If if someone else's success is causing you to not feel successful, then you need to figure out how to make yourself more successful, not take them down.
So you're a philosopher on the weekends too. I love it, man.
Yeah. So there's psychology with Jeff.
Beautifully said, man. Great tip. And I always appreciate you swinging by. For those who want to put Jeff on retainer or go investigate what he's all about, get over to jeffschick.com, just like the razor, which I could use right now. Jeffschick.com. He's on retainer with my team and many, many other sellers in our community. He's going to be a guest with us at the Proven Conference coming up July 6th through 8th. He's one of our top sponsors as well. So come hang out with him there, theprovenconference.com. But I'll let you go, Jeff. Great hanging out with you today, buddy.
Appreciate it. Absolutely.
Thanks. Talk soon.
Bye.